host of other things that can help start to scale that good, big social game. And really, I think Steve pointed earlier, looking at my slides, there's no axis on this plot, and the things below creative can determine whether that axis is up to 10 people or 10 million people. There's platform virality. That's constantly changing. That's something you have to design your game around, and you have to be willing to adjust your game with as the platform virality changes. When Facebook took away notifications, that could have been a huge crushing blow, and we saw virality dampen across all games. But they opened up email, and we had to figure out how to use email and the other channels more effectively, how to design a better game for that landscape. Engagement monetization, Steve covered that. Scalability, if you have a great game and you cannot get your servers to go over 500,000 DAU, your game is going to be capped at 500,000 DAU, which is a high-class problem for most people, but if you're trying to build a 2 million DAU game, that's a really bad problem to have. And then the key, and I'll come back to this a couple times during this quick, I'm going to be really fast here, is the ability to profitably grow traffic. Anybody can spend a bunch of money and grow a game. The key is if you spend $1, you get more than $1 back out. Otherwise, you're in a bad spot. And if you can get the lifetime value of your game higher and higher and higher, you can outspend anybody else in the market and acquire that space and keep everybody else out. And this is what we saw early on, kind of in the trench warfare, and we're one of the lucky companies, I think, to be near the top with some other major players in that we carved out our own niches. And we're big enough now that we have traffic we can move around to lower that acquisition cost and allow us to play with different types of games. This might seem like a doomsday slide deck. Please don't be disheartened by all of it. The arms race is over. In the top 25 games, this might be a month old, this slide here. Only 3 of the top 20 Facebook games come from what I would call indie developers. So if you're thinking that your game is the next Farmville, I think even Zynga can't make a Farmville right now because virality has changed. The landscape has changed, and the ability to grow that fast, that early, that cheap is gone. It's a whole new landscape. And all 3 of those games were released over a year ago. I mean, Farmtown predates Farmville. And that's been out there, and that's a nice little property for those guys. And the reason it's there is because it has its entrenched users, and it got big fast in the beginning when it could. Facebook, constantly changing. This is a different world than we were. Let's look at July 2008. Let's go to the beginning of social games, before myself or even Steve was at Playdom. Look at all the channels you had to grow your game. You had one-step permission wall feeds. Publish to my wall, done. You can keep on posting one-line statements to that person's news feed into their wall. Notifications were there. Facebook chat notifications, email, all of this was there. Let's fast forward just to January 2010. Look at the number of apps from 33,000 to 550,000. Almost a 20 times growth in the number of applications on Facebook in a year and a half. And look at how many fewer viral channels are available. And Steve went through and kind of touched on the progression of changes of that, and especially the most recent and maybe the most hurtful to us if we hadn't adapted would have been notifications going away and given us email. Because notifications are right there in your face when you log in, big red number. Okay, now let me get on to, here's a bunch of issues that I think a lot of people overlook as indie developers, people who have great game design and don't realize how much work it's going to take to make that game grow. In the beginning, there was nobody anywhere. You put your game out, you had a shot to grow. You spend a little bit of money, you spend a little more, profitably and sell, it grows. A big example I like to bring up is look at Treasure Madness versus Treasure Isle. Treasure Madness got itself out there really early and did a great job, and it's a great game. And you saw somebody with the distribution power that Zynga has and with the ability to take and add features and content so quickly that they took that game, they improved on that game, and it went to 12 times as big as Treasure Madness was. And it did that in a period of a week. And this is a game that had been around for months. Okay. So what does it take to publish a game? You're in a sandbox when you're building this game, and you're beholden to yourself, your investors, your buddies who you've whitelisted to play the game, the opinion that you're collecting yourself. As you go to take this game and scale it up, there's tools and infrastructure you need to have in place before you get the traffic. And I can't hammer this home enough. I've watched so many companies that go and they say, I've got this $1 million budget, I'm going to go acquire this traffic, I've done all my research. If your bucket doesn't hold water, it's not a good bucket to put water in. You need to have the tools and the infrastructure. You need to know before you put 100,000 people into your game, You need to know it can hold 200,000. You need to know that you have tools to deal with Facebook terms of service and tools to deal with customer complaints and responding in a reasonable manner and tools to deal with localization. If suddenly your game's a hit in France, how do I get it there? How do I make money there? These are things that, as Playdom, and we speak a lot from our experiences at Playdom, we have those tools because we got big early. Again, fortunate situation to be in. For you guys developing these games now, you should look for who the best partner for those tools is, and don't try to reinvent the wheel on it. You want to make sure you have that in place, and you won't realize the value, especially of the tools, CMS tools, community management tools, until there's a problem, until you have a fire. And the question will be, can you put the fire out, or will the fire burn your camp down? So, not here to preach Playdom to you, here to kind of give you guys a heads up of what's coming when you go to launch your game. At Playdom, we have our game studios that build the games. They focus on the same stuff you guys are focusing on, stuff that Steve was just talking about. Let's make really good games. Then there are central teams that focus on individual components that help make it so that game, the bucket will hold water, so that we can say with reasonable belief that we can grow this game, and this game can handle the growth we're going to give it. So analytics and business intelligence. We have our own suite internally we use that we developed ourselves, focused entirely on how we like to look at our games, but allows us to A/B test and deep dive. We have two tools, the Virals API and CMS, and the social networking framework, which abstract the social network. They're a buffer layer between you and Facebook. There's teams that work on when Facebook changes the terms of service. What do you want to do? They'll make their recommendations to you, and they provide a CMS tool saying, okay, notifications are out, emails in. Here's the recommendations. That takes the game team now, it's a day to respond to that change, as opposed to a weekend fire drill, which allows you to continue developing features, continuing to keep your game fresh. Monetization, iframe, and CMS tools. It's one thing to have a game team who understands the game, design which items we want to have as limited edition, and how we want to price things, and when to release crates, and all of that. It's another thing to deal with OfferPal, OfferWall, PayPal, Facebook credits, and optimize that mix. And this is not particular to Playdom. This is any of the big gaming companies should be dealing with these things. There's user acquisition. I'll get into an example about that in a minute, so I'll save that. And then customer support and community management. You'll learn a lot of your best stuff once you have a couple 100,000 people playing your game. You'll get your best new features from your audience. You'll get your best dress, your best selling dress of all time to be something that was a user-generated piece of content. All right. Business intelligence. Again, good game first. Understand what you're trying to build, then see if you actually built what you thought you were building. That's it. That's what this is. This is something. If you design the perfect game and you have the perfect technology, you don't need it. If the game plays, everything plays out exactly as it is in your head, you're good. This is your safeguard. Knowing what's going on. We did our own internally because there was enough nuanced stuff that an off-the-shelf solution didn't work for us. So the business intelligence itself allows you to look at the metrics of what's going on and then combine it with an analytics team, and you can get real-time response in order to increase your engagement, increase your monetization, get a better player experience. I can't stress enough how much in this space you can be very quantitatively driven because the information is real-time. It's not like you're waiting for an end-of-quarter report to make your decision about not this quarter but next quarter. You're looking at what happened 2 minutes ago when you released new content and deciding if you should pull that content back 2 minutes from now. Very real-time feedback. Allows you to really touch your players. Virals. Virals are interesting. Facebook is the dominant player. We'll all focus on that. All the different social networks have their own viral channels. All of them have strengths and weaknesses. The biggest deal is if Facebook changes one little thing on a Tuesday and your game's not ready for it. We have a Virals API that our internal studios and our publishing partners use. That, again, it's part of helping abstract the social network so that there's a team focused on what's happening on Facebook and how do I make sure that our game team is ready to handle that. Because this type of stuff, and usually I akin it to if you're in college or in a class, the homework will always take priority over the quarter-long project or the semester-long project because you have so much time to do the semester-long project. That project is your new features and your new content. And anything that's going to take the app down, that's your homework. And if stuff changes really quickly, which it does in this world, you will never get, or you'll be severely hampered at how fast you can get to the stuff you want to do. We'll launch this game. It'll be a nice little simple game. We'll get these 3 features in 2 weeks. And and you'll be 2 months in being like, I really want to get those features in, but things keep on changing. I can't keep up. Taking it so that the game teams can just focus on the game is a key thing to think about at Playdom. And then as Steve mentioned, virals are really important to us because they lower the cost of acquisition. And if you lower the cost of acquisition, you can afford to acquire traffic with a lower LTV. So you can go out with an earlier game and profitably install against that game while you roll out the features, as long as you're not getting caught by fire drills. Monetization.